At first look, it felt like just another Hollywood love story cracking under the pressure of fame, tours, cameras, and those silent storms that sneak into every marriage. But for Nicole Kidman, the real story was way heavier. Shaped by scars she never fully showed and a silence she wore like armor long before she ever explained why she wouldn't take even a single dollar from Keith Urban. The world only saw the glossy version, the red carpet royalty, the flawless smile, the unbreakable composure. But behind that glittering front was a woman forged by fire, exile, and rebirth. Money was the last thing she'd ever let define her value. Nicole Kidman grew up knowing the weird ache of ambition and the loneliness that comes with it. She was a girl who wanted everything, yet felt the walls closing in around her. Early on, she learned that staying quiet could be safer than telling the truth, and that love mixed with fame was a war zone where promises usually broke long before the public noticed the cracks. By the time she stepped through Hollywood's massive gates, she was already carrying old bruises, the invisible kind, the ones that hit hardest in the dark when the lights go out. When she met Keith Urban, she wasn't the fragile star people imagined. She was a fortress rebuilt after countless storms. A woman who knew how to guard her heart, yet still had the guts to open it again. Keith came with his own baggage, addiction, loneliness, and that deep hunger to finally be enough for someone. For a while, they confused shared pain for shared destiny. They built a home, raised beautiful daughters, and wrapped their lives around each other like two lost souls finally finding shelter. Still, even in their best years, something dark lingered in the corners. Nicole had always feared that love might one day cost more than she could afford. She'd already lived that nightmare once. The world remembers the end of her first marriage as a tabloid circus, full of rumors, betrayal, and whispered accusations. But Nicole never talked about the real damage, the emotional wreckage. The sleepless nights, the hollow feeling of being discarded by the man she thought would walk beside her forever. The divorce settlement was huge, but it came with a harsh truth. Money fixed nothing. It healed nothing. It didn't bring back the years she gave or the parts of herself she lost. It just sat there, cold, heavy, useless, while she tried to rebuild who she was. So when Keith Urban entered her life, she made a quiet decision. She would love him, but she would never tie that love to money. Not $1. Not ever. Hollywood didn't get it. Agents whispered. Accountants shook their heads. Friends warned her. How could a woman with her status, her legacy, her empire refuse financial protection? But that was exactly the point. Nicole didn't want protection. She wanted freedom. Freedom from old scars. Freedom from financial expectations. Freedom from the idea that love could be counted in zeros. And to his credit, Keith never pushed back. He was still climbing out of his own darkness. A man who knew the shame of disappointing people. The pain of fighting demons no spotlight could erase. He didn't need her money. He needed her trust. For years, they lived in this fragile balance. Her silence, his battles, their uneasy peace. But fame is never kind. Rumors spread. Speculation hardened. And a marriage already dealing with storms the public never saw began to crack under the pressure. Through it all, Nicole stuck to her vow. She never said it out loud, but she lived it. If it ever ended, she'd take nothing. No house, no car, no money. She'd walk away with the only things that truly mattered, her daughters and her dignity. When the truth finally reached Hollywood, it shook the industry. A woman burned once refused to let money burn her again. She didn't want Keith Urban's fortune because she'd already paid the highest price possible, losing herself. But the wildest part wasn't her decision. It was why she made it. A reason buried in a confession from her past. A vow shaped by heartbreak and a fear she'd carried like a ghost for decades. She never took $1 because deep down, she believed she didn't deserve to be paid for love lost. Not again. Not ever. And tonight, for the first time, the world will finally hear why. Nicole Kidman always knew the strongest vows are the ones made in silence. People imagine vows as dramatic promises under wedding arches, soft music playing, hands shaking. But Nicole's real vow, the one that shaped her life, was made alone in a dim room long before Keith Urban ever came close. It was carved out of grief, born from the ashes of a love that shattered her so completely she wasn't sure she'd ever breathe right again. When her first marriage ended, Hollywood feasted on the spectacle like vultures on a wounded animal. Headlines exploded. Late-night hosts cracked jokes. The public devoured the gossip for fun. Meanwhile, Nicole was left to pick up the pieces. What no one saw was the quiet devastation after the cameras stopped. The nights she sat alone questioning her worth. The mornings she dragged herself out of bed because she had no other choice. Fame didn't protect her. Money didn't comfort her. Success didn't warm her. Loneliness wrapped around her like a shroud. In that suffocating grief, the vow was born. She realized something life-changing. She would never again let money define how a love story ends. She didn't want a settlement. She didn't want compensation. She refused to put a price tag on heartbreak. Money couldn't undo betrayal. It couldn't fix trust. It couldn't replace lost years. Taking it felt like letting someone assign a number to her pain, and she said nope. So she walked away, and the vow followed her. Years later, when Keith Urban entered her life, all quiet charm, talent, and hidden cracks, Nicole wasn't the wide-eyed girl chasing belonging anymore. She was older, sharper, more guarded. She saw something in Keith she recognized, a man battling his own shadows. Addiction had dragged him to the edge more times than the public knew. Fame gave him escape, not salvation. Behind that rugged smile, Nicole saw a bruised soul searching for redemption. They found each other like two travelers ducking into the same shelter during a storm. But from day one, Nicole wore her vow like invisible armor. She insisted on separate finances, on never mixing money with love. Keith didn't argue. Maybe he was just grateful someone believed in him. Maybe he knew she was still healing. Or maybe he understood that love hits different when it isn't chained to fear. Their marriage unfolded in chapters, some beautiful, some brutal. Keith's addiction resurfaced more than once, and Nicole became the quiet anchor pulling him back. Time after time, she stood by him through rehabs, relapses, and internal wars that could wreck a man. Yet even in their darkest moments, she never reached for his money. Never used financial security as a backup plan. The vow stayed solid. She loved Keith the way she wished she'd been loved. No conditions, no leverage, no safety net. But Hollywood didn't see the vow. It only saw the cracks. Rumors flew. Why doesn't she protect herself? Why won't she take anything? Is she hiding something? Some insiders claimed she was punishing Keith for his past, but they were dead wrong. She wasn't punishing him. She was shielding herself from old ghosts, from reopening a wound that once almost destroyed her. Nicole Kidman learned the hard way that love can be fragile, unpredictable, even cruel. But she also learned that dignity is priceless. She promised herself no man's money would ever become a weapon or a chain. Quietly, she lived by that promise. Beneath the glamour, the applause, the gowns, she was a woman guarding her heart with the vow that once saved her. The tension between them didn't come from money. It came from fame's chaos. Keith's demons returned. Nicole's fear of loss grew louder. Their schedules pulled them apart. And a world starving for drama magnified every crack until even the strongest walls shook. People questioned why Nicole Kidman, one of Hollywood's highest-paid actresses, would walk away with nothing but her children if her marriage ended. But the answer wasn't pride. It was rebirth. Her vow wasn't about Keith Urban. It wasn't about his money. It wasn't even about independence. It was about reclaiming herself, proving she could survive love ending without being destroyed, that she could stand on her own feet, not on a settlement. It was her promise to never let heartbreak define her, drain her, or price her pain. What Hollywood didn't know, what no one knew, was that her refusal was tied to a deeper secret, one buried for decades. A secret from long before fame, marriage, or the spotlight. One that explained everything. A secret she never meant to share. A secret that would shock Hollywood more than her vow ever could. Long before Nicole Kidman became a global icon, before elegance and restraint became her image, there was a hidden chapter. A shadow she buried so deep that even those closest to her never felt its weight. This secret wasn't about fame or marriage. It was about the lesson she spent her whole life trying to escape. That love can turn into a weapon and money can become the blade. Growing up in Australia, Nicole watched money turn arguments into wars. Her parents loved each other, but financial stress sharpened every fight. She saw pride crumble and dignity erode when survival was on the line. Even as a kid, she learned a brutal truth. When money enters the heart, it can destroy everything. Then came the moment she never spoke about. A memory stitched into her mind like a scar under silk. She was barely a child when she saw a close relative go through a savage breakup. It wasn't the heartbreak that haunted her. It was what came after. Lawsuits, bitterness, endless battles over property, savings, assets. She watched someone she loved turn into a bargaining chip, their grief reduced to numbers. They weren't fighting for closure. They were fighting to survive. In that chaos, Nicole learned the fear she'd carry into every relationship. That love could become a negotiation, and she swore she'd never be negotiated over. That was the ghost behind her vow. That was why she refused to take even $1 from Keith Urban. She wasn't just protecting herself from her first marriage. She was protecting her soul from ever being priced again. She was protecting the little girl inside her, the one who once watched someone she loved lose their dignity in a courtroom. Hollywood would never get that, never really understand it. When Nicole met Keith, that old childhood fear hummed quietly under her ribs. He was charismatic, brilliant, straight up intoxicating, but also unstable in ways he never bothered to hide. Addiction had left Keith bruised, emotionally and spiritually wrecked. Fame had given him everything except peace of mind. When Nicole chose Keith, she chose him with her eyes wide open, fully knowing the storm she was stepping into could shatter her if she wasn't careful. But she saw something else too, a hunger to do better, a need to rise up from the ashes of his past. And in that fragile space between fear and faith, she made the vow again. Not out loud, but deep within herself. If this love ever ends, I will ask for nothing. I will take nothing. I will walk away with nothing. Because to her, love was meant to be chosen freely, not bought, not locked down by contracts, not enforced with legal leverage. She had seen what that kind of power did to people. She had lived with those ghosts. Keith Urban never pushed back, but the truth was way more complicated than anyone realized. For Keith, Nicole's vow felt like a blessing he didn't think he deserved. He was a man trying like hell to prove he could be the partner she needed. He battled his demons, clung to sobriety, poured his soul into music, and tried to build a home strong enough to hold both of them. But here's the darker truth. Watching Nicole refuse financial security made him feel grateful and guilty at the same damn time. It reminded him, quietly and relentlessly, of how much she had risked for him. Behind the closed doors of their marriage, that unspoken tension kept growing. Keith's fear of relapsing haunted him. Nicole's fear of repeating her past kept her boxed in. Their home, beautiful, warm, full of music, was also a quiet battlefield of insecurities the public never saw. And then Hollywood did what Hollywood always does. It smelled a crack and dug its claws in. Rumors started swirling about their finances long before divorce whispers ever surfaced. Tabloids claimed Nicole was refusing support because she was gearing up to expose Keith's secrets. They said she was distancing herself from his struggles, lining up a clean break. The story twisted, warped, and evolved into something straight up venomous. And Nicole watched her private vow turn into a weapon she never meant it to be. But none of that compared to the secret she carried, the one she feared would someday claw its way into the light. It wasn't just the trauma she'd seen as a child. It wasn't just the vow she made after her first marriage. It wasn't even the fear that money could rot love from the inside. It was deeper, more personal, more raw. Nicole Kidman believed with bone-deep certainty that she didn't deserve to profit from someone else's pain, not Keith's, not anyone's. She built her life on the belief that dignity was earned in silence. She learned to survive storms not by fighting them, but by enduring them. And she came to believe that taking money from a broken marriage, no matter how justified, felt like accepting payment for her own emotional wounds. For decades, she was praised for her strength, her grace, her composure. But that composure came at a price she never wanted the world to see. This secret shaped every decision she made, every legal choice, every conversation about money, every retreat into silence. It was the invisible thread running through her life with Keith Urban. And as the cracks in their marriage deepened, as Hollywood sharpened its knives, as the pressure piled on year after year, Nicole faced the one question she had dodged for too long. What happens when the vow that once protected you becomes the very thing that chains you? Because for the first time, the vow started to hurt her. And soon, the world would see why. There comes a moment in every long, fragile marriage when the quiet promises that once held two people together start to feel like chains instead of anchors. For Nicole Kidman, that moment crept in slowly, almost invisibly, like dusk sliding across the sky before you even realize the sun is gone. And the cruel irony was this. The very vow she swore to protect herself, the vow never to take a dollar from Keith Urban, was now costing her more than she ever imagined. At first, it was subtle. A hitch in her voice when they talked about travel plans. A heaviness in Keith's eyes after another night wrestling his addiction ghosts. A quiet tension living in the spaces between their words. Pauses growing longer. Silences heavier, no longer peaceful. Their marriage, once built on hope and healing, began to feel like a fragile house standing on shifting sand. Nicole had stood by Keith through rehab, relapse, recovery, and the long grind back to stability. She poured her heart into helping him rebuild himself brick by brick. But what the public never understood was that loving someone fighting addiction is lonely as hell. There are victories, sure, but also nights full of fear, days of uncertainty, moments when you don't know if the person you love will rise or fall. And Nicole carried that fear quietly, refusing to dump her exhaustion on Keith. But underneath that silence was another truth. Her vow was binding her in ways she never saw coming. Keith felt deeply, painfully guilty that Nicole refused financial protection. He felt like she was putting her entire life on the line for him, risking everything for a man who once nearly lost it all. And as much as he respected her independence, it scared him. He didn't want to be the reason she ended up with nothing if their marriage fell apart. He didn't want to be another chapter in her story of heartbreak and survival. That guilt grew inside him like a hidden illness, and guilt in a marriage is poison. Hollywood kept tightening the screws. Paparazzi circled their home like vultures. Tabloids pumped out headlines about Keith's sobriety and Nicole's emotional withdrawal. Every missed event, every bit of distance between them, got dissected, exaggerated, and spun. Their marriage became a battleground, not just between them, but between truth and the story Hollywood wanted to sell. Still, Nicole clung to her vow. She ignored lawyers' advice. She rejected financial agreements. She repeated, again and again, that she would never touch Keith Urban's money. And without meaning to, she sent him a message she never intended, that she expected nothing from him because she had already prepared herself for the day he would fail her. Keith never said it out loud, but Nicole felt the shift. Over time, the cracks got too big to ignore. The vow that once gave her strength started to feel like a cage built from unhealed trauma. She wasn't protecting herself anymore. She was punishing herself. She convinced herself that accepting help, security, or anything from the man she loved was weakness. She had promised the little girl she once was that money would never define her again. But in trying to protect that girl, she was hurting the woman she had become. Then came the moment, small, intimate, unforgettable, when everything flipped. It happened during one of their quietest arguments. No yelling, no slammed doors, no drama. Just two exhausted hearts finally speaking truths they'd buried for years. Keith looked at her with a sadness that sliced right through her armor and said softly, "Nicole, I'm your husband. Why won't you let me take care of you too?" The question shattered her because the truth was brutal and simple. She didn't know how to be taken care of. She only knew how to survive. The vow had become a shield she no longer needed, but didn't know how to put down. And the harder she clung to it, the more Keith felt locked out of her inner world, like a man standing outside a closed door, knocking gently, hoping she'd let him in. That's when Nicole saw how deeply her past had carved into her present. She had mistaken self-protection for strength, silence for dignity, independence for isolation. She had never fully healed from the wounds that taught her to fear depending on anyone. The realization hit hard, cracked her open, forced her to face a truth she'd avoided for decades. The vow had done its job once, but now it was hurting the person she loved most. And still, she couldn't let it go. Not out of pride or stubbornness, but because deep down she believed accepting money from Keith would make her vulnerable in ways she didn't know how to survive. She had built her entire identity around being untouchable, unbreakable, unstoppable, and accepting help threatened that illusion. The price of that illusion was massive. She pulled back emotionally, hiding in work, motherhood, routines that felt safe. Keith, feeling the distance, retreated into his own insecurities. Their home grew colder, filled with unspoken words, even though love still pulsed beneath the surface. Hollywood noticed, of course. Cracks became headlines. Headlines became narratives. Narratives became truth. But the real truth was this. Nicole Kidman was trapped between who she used to be and who she was trying to become, and she had no clue how to bridge that gap. Her vow, sacred and painful, had once protected her, but now it was tearing her marriage apart. And the secret she'd carried since childhood, the trauma she'd never shared, was catching up, demanding to be faced. She had spent her life running from it. Now she had no choice but to turn around and face the fire. There's always one day when the truth stops knocking politely and kicks the door in. For Nicole Kidman, that day didn't come with flashing cameras or screaming headlines. It came in total stillness. The kind of quiet that forces you to face everything you've been dodging. It was the day her silence, her vow, her fears, and her unhealed scars finally collided with the life she'd built with Keith Urban. And standing in the wreckage of her composure, she had to admit a truth she'd buried for decades. It started quietly, a soft morning light, the kind that feels almost safe. Keith sat at the kitchen table, coffee cooling in his hands, steam rising between them like a ghost. Nicole came down early, before the kids woke up. Hair unbrushed, face unmasked. For once, she looked less like an icon and more like a woman worn out from holding everything together on pure willpower. Keith watched her, eyes heavy with a sadness she'd learned to ignore, because acknowledging it meant acknowledging the space between them. He set his cup down and spoke, voice shaking not with anger, but with the weight of a truth he couldn't hold in anymore. "Nick, do you really think you have to protect yourself from me?" The question cut deep. She wanted to deny it, brush it off as paranoia, Hollywood noise, nothing. But she couldn't, because in his eyes, she saw her own fear reflected back. Fear not of him, but of herself. Fear of being held. Fear of depending on anyone. Fear of being hurt in ways money could never fix. She sank into the chair across from him, the vow sitting between them like an invisible wall. And before she could stop it, years of silence cracked open. "I made myself a promise," she whispered. "A long time ago. Before you, before everything. I promised I'd never let money become a weapon in my life again." Keith nodded, but his eyes asked the deeper question burning inside him. "Why do you think I would ever use it against you?" She sucked in a breath, sharp and shaky, because she didn't have an answer that made sense anymore. The vow had started as protection, but over the years it had twisted into something darker, something she was finally afraid to name. She wasn't protecting herself from Keith. She was protecting herself from the kind of love she was terrified would come back around. The kind of love she grew up watching. The kind that tore people apart and left them wrecked in courtrooms, arguing over couches, bank accounts, and who got what. She was shielding the girl who had watched someone she loved get slowly dismantled by a system that measured grief like numbers in a spreadsheet. For years, Nicole told herself that her vow was strength. Solid. Unbreakable. But sitting there in that kitchen, staring at the man who had fought like hell to stay sober, who had fought for their family, who had fought for himself, she finally saw it clearly. That vow wasn't just strength. It was avoidance. Straight up. She had never really given Keith the space to show her what unconditional love actually looked like. Not without fear. Not without rules. Not without an exit plan tucked away. Keith reached across the table and took her hand. His grip was warm and steady, but it shook just a little. "You can't keep punishing yourself for the past," he said softly. "And you can't keep punishing me for something I never did." Those words cracked her wide open, because he wasn't wrong. She had built her entire life around dodging the pain she'd seen as a kid. And in doing that, she'd created new pain. Pain that cut into her and into the man who loved her. Her voice trembled. "I wasn't trying to punish you." "I know," he said, "but it still hurts." Silence filled the room. Heavy. Honest. No running from it. And inside that silence, everything she had buried started clawing its way up. Memories she thought she'd outrun. Fears she dressed up as independence. Pain she confused with pride. For the first time, she let herself break. Not pretty, not polished. No movie star tears. Just raw, ugly sobs from a woman who had been carrying way too much for way too long. Keith moved beside her, wrapped his arms around her, and held her the way he'd wanted to for years. No cameras. No red carpets. No glam. Just two people finally stepping out from behind the walls they built to survive. And then she said it. The truth she had never said out loud. Not even to herself. "I was afraid," she whispered. "Afraid that if everything fell apart again, I'd be nothing without my dignity. And I thought taking money meant losing it." Keith closed his eyes, breathing her words in like someone who'd been waiting forever to hear them. "You have dignity because of who you are," he said, his voice cracking. "Not because of what you refused to take." That was the moment. Quiet, brutal, necessary. The moment the vow finally showed its real face. It was never about money, never about Keith. It was always about Nicole's fear of being powerless, of losing herself, of reliving a chapter she swore she'd never go back to. And as she sat there in her husband's arms, it hit her. That vow had protected her once. But now it was trapping her in a past that didn't even exist anymore. The sun climbed higher outside, spilling gold across the kitchen. And in that light, something shifted. For the first time, Nicole felt the idea of freedom. Not independence for the sake of it freedom, but the freedom that comes from letting fear go. She wasn't ready to break the vow completely. Not yet. Some wounds take their sweet time healing. But she was done letting it run their marriage. She was ready to let Keith in, ready to stop swinging at ghosts and start fighting for the life they were still building. That morning didn't magically fix everything. Healing almost never works like that. But it was the day the truth finally broke through. The day the vow loosened its grip. The day Nicole Kidman stopped running from the girl she used to be and started becoming the woman she was meant to be. Healing isn't a straight line. It bends, breaks, loops back, collapses, then somehow rises again. After that morning in the kitchen, the morning Nicole finally let truth breathe between her and Keith, nothing suddenly snapped into place. But something way more important happened. The silence that had ruled their marriage for years finally cracked. And through that crack, light started pouring in. Hollywood didn't care about the light. From the outside, Nicole and Keith looked like they were drifting. Keith toured less, pouring himself into recovery and reinvention. Nicole worked more, burying herself in scripts and sets, trying to remember who she was outside the marriage. They appeared together less. Their smiles were still warm, but strained. Cameras clocked it instantly. Entertainment blogs sharpened their claws. Headlines popped up with that gross excitement people get when a golden couple starts wobbling. But nobody knew what was really going down behind closed doors. Nicole was finally confronting the vow that had ruled her life. Every day peeled back another layer. Another truth. Another brick pulled from the fortress she'd built. For the first time, she started asking the questions she used to avoid. What does real trust even look like? What happens if I let someone catch me? Can I love without bracing for disaster? Those questions haunted her nights. But they also freed her. She realized she'd spent so much of her life bracing for impact that she forgot how to stand still without flinching. And Keith, slowly, gently, became the person who stood beside her through that reckoning, even when it weighed heavy on both of them. One night, after the kids were asleep, Nicole found Keith alone on the back porch. His guitar rested against his knee. His eyes were fixed on a sky thick with evening clouds. The air smelled like rain. And in that stillness, she saw him clearly. A man who had fought demons most people couldn't even imagine. A man who survived addiction, shame, and the brutal glare of fame. She didn't see the guilt that once hollowed him out. She saw softness, readiness, hope. She sat beside him without a word. The silence felt different now. Not heavy, open. After a while, Keith looked at her and said something that changed everything. "If you ever leave," he whispered, "I don't want you walking away with nothing. Not because I think you'll need it, but because you deserve more than what the past taught you." It hit her like lightning. For so long, she believed taking nothing meant keeping her dignity. That accepting money, support, security meant weakness, dependence, vulnerability. But hearing him say she deserved more, not less, cracked another piece of armor she'd been wearing since childhood. She took a slow breath. "I don't want to leave you," she said quietly. "I'm just learning how to stop expecting the worst." Keith nodded. "Then let me help you learn," he murmured. For the first time, Nicole leaned into him not as survival, not as a performance, but as a woman choosing trust over fear. That night didn't erase the vow, but it marked the start of a slow, painful transformation. The moment she stopped reacting to her past and started reaching toward her future. The world outside had zero patience for nuance. One blurry photo of Nicole leaving a lawyer's office sent Hollywood into a frenzy. The truth was boring. She was reviewing a contract. But tabloids spun it into betrayal. Headlines exploded. Nicole Kidman prepares financial exit from Keith Urban. Secret meetings. Divorce imminent. Nicole refuses money. Here's why. Within hours, rumors turned into facts. Producers whispered. Agents panicked. Fans mourned. None of it was true. But Hollywood didn't care. They wanted drama. A spectacle. Nicole and Keith became characters in a story they never agreed to tell. And then something wild happened. Instead of going silent like always, Nicole did something new. She confronted it. Not publicly, not with PR, but face to face with Keith. She found him in his studio, staring at a headline on his phone. Jaw tight, hands clenched. He looked up, and she saw the hurt. Not because he believed it, but because he knew how much damage lies can do. She took his phone, set it down, and placed her hands on his shoulders. "I'm not going anywhere," she said quietly. "I'm not preparing to leave you. I'm preparing to stop being afraid." Keith closed his eyes like those words lifted 10 years of weight off his chest. And in that moment, something shifted. The vow that once divided them began to dissolve. Not because she broke it, but because she redefined it. It wasn't about refusing help anymore. It was about refusing to let fear run her life. The next months were about rebuilding. Not the marriage, but themselves. Therapy. Honest conversations. Nicole unpacked childhood grief. Keith let go of guilt that was never his. Their home slowly became safe again. And eventually, the tabloids moved on. The noise faded. The truth stayed. But Hollywood didn't see what was coming next. Because everyone assumed Nicole refused Keith's money out of pride or punishment. They were wrong. The truth was deeper, rawer, human. And when she finally said it out loud, Hollywood didn't know whether to pity her, admire her, or rethink everything. Her truth didn't come on a stage or under bright lights. It came quietly, during an interview meant to promote a film. The journalist noticed something different: softness, vulnerability. And he asked the question everyone wondered about. Why had she always refused to take money from Keith? The room went still. She could have dodged it, smiled it off, gave the safe answer. But she didn't. She inhaled and said, almost whispering, "Because I grew up believing that when money enters a relationship, love starts to disappear." She talked about her parents, about fights over bills, about watching money destroy people she loved, about a breakup that wasn't about heartbreak, but survival, lawyers, threats, financial war. The divorce didn't break them, she said. The money did. And when her own marriage ended, she couldn't stand the idea of being paid for pain. So she made a promise. Walk away with dignity, not a check. Hollywood was stunned. This wasn't ego or pride. It was trauma, survival, healing. And then she said the part that changed everything. "I was terrified love would become transactional. And that fear, it cost us too." The clip went viral. Not for scandal, but for honesty. Fans supported her. Psychologists praised her. Women saw themselves in her story. But the person most affected was Keith. He watched it backstage at a charity show. Later he said it felt like watching her heart crack open. And he just wanted to hold her. That night, he went home, found her by the fire, took her hands. "You never had to protect yourself from me," he whispered. "You just had to let me." She broke, not from pain, but release. For the first time, the vow loosened because she'd outgrown it. They talked for hours, built something new. Not perfect, but real. She never took $1 because she wanted love freely. Not rescue, redemption. And for the first time in her life, Nicole Kidman felt completely, undeniably